Life was great and I loved my wife more than anything else in this world. We had passion in our marriage and we enjoyed spending time with each other. Don't get me wrong, we had an active social life with friends and family. Before I go any further, let me introduce myself. My name is Stanley and my parents, George and Barbara, selected my name because they wanted my initials to be SOS. Notice I said my legal name. That's because everybody calls me Bubba. When my sister told everyone about her baby brother, it sounded like she was saying Bubba instead of brother. So my sister Karen is the reason I'm called Bubba. Holly, my wife, and I were born in June of 1981, and both of our parents insist we were conceived in September 1980 during the first SOS fall migration in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I can hear you now wanting to know what in the world SOS stands for. Well, SOS is short for Society of Stranders and was founded by a lifeguard in 1980. The Society of Stranders is an organization that enjoys, upholds, and perpetuates the traditions of shag/beach music and shag dancing. Yes, I know shag has a different meaning in other parts of the world, but along the eastern seaboard between Virginia Beach, Virginia, and Miami, Florida shag is a form of swing dance also known as the Carolina shag. You can go online and read about the Carolina shag or shag dance if you care to know more about it. I met Holly while attending my first SOS fall migration in September 2002 with my parents. While growing up, my sister and mother insisted I learn the Carolina shag and forced me to practice with them. When I saw Holly on the dance floor at Fat Harold's, my heart skipped a beat and I knew I had to dance with her. I can honestly say this was the first time in my life I was glad my sister and mother forced me to learn the Carolina shag dance and practice with them. Holly grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and moved to Columbia after she graduated from the College of Charleston with a degree in marketing. Her parents, Doug and Paula Owens, still live in Charleston. Holly is employed by a local insurance company in Columbia and lived about 2 miles from me. My best friend, since the second grade, is Ralph Jones. Everyone calls him RJ. His parents, Earl and Gloria, still live beside my parents. While growing up, Earl coached the basketball team RJ and I were on, and my grandfather coached our football team. We both graduated from the University of South Carolina and are sales representatives for the same company. Well, let's see. You've met my wife, her parents, my best friend and his parents, so it's time to move on with this story. I'll pick up the story in late April after we got back from this year's SOS Spring Safari party in North Myrtle Beach. You guessed it, there is an SOS Spring Safari in April and an SOS Fall Migration in September each year. Since Holly and I met during the fall migration, we attend each SOS event with our parents and share a 3-bedroom condo within walking distance of the beach clubs with our parents. For the past 3 years, I get up every weekday morning at 5:25 a.m. and go work out at the Irmo YMCA. On Monday and Wednesday mornings, I play basketball with 9 other guys including RJ. Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday are devoted to weight training. By following this routine, I've been able to maintain my weight at 227 pounds spread over my 6 feet 4 inches frame. Holly is also into physical fitness, but she prefers to work out in the afternoons. Something about not wanting to start her day at 5:30 a.m. I'm just sitting in my favorite chair watching American Idol when Holly looks at me and says, during a commercial, in her best loving wife voice, "Bubba, now don't forget we need to be at the airport by noon tomorrow." "Yes, dear. I can't wait till we're on the beach in Cancun." I smiled at her and said, "You do remember I, unlike someone else we will not name, have tomorrow off. I'll pack as soon as I get back from the Y. Don't worry, I'll be packed, ready and waiting on you. I can't help it. I'm so important, my company needs me, and your company can survive just fine without you." She responded with that laugh I love so much. This weekend we're going to Cancun for 4 days/3 nights to celebrate our 3rd wedding anniversary. The city picks up trash in our neighborhood every Thursday, so Wednesday night I get the trash together. When American Idol is over, I go through the house emptying trash cans. I push the trash cart to the end of our driveway and return to the garage for the recycling bin. After closing the garage door, checking to make sure all doors were locked and the outside lights were off, I return to watch TV with Holly. Just as I sit down, Holly asked, "Where are suitcases?" "They're in the basement. I guess you want me to get them tonight? Would you get them before you go to bed?" "Yes, dear." I sat there for a few minutes before going to get the suitcases. We're going for 4 days and I can't understand why we need to take 3 suitcases and a carry-on. Bright and early Thursday morning I was up, dressed and out the door by 5:40. Getting into my car I noticed 2 coffee cups, a water bottle, a fast food bag, and a broken umbrella scattered around the inside of my car. As I backed out of the driveway I saw the trash cart and decided to dump my trash in the trash cart. Opening the cart I was surprised to see a plain brown shipping box sitting on top of the trash. I wondered who added their trash to mine. Picking up the box I was shocked to see it addressed to Holly A. Owens. Now I had 2 additional things to think about. First, why her maiden name was on the label, and second, why addressed to her office instead of our home. Looking inside the box I found a packing slip from Trashy Lingerie with the item. For some unknown reason I kept the box and packing slip thinking great, she bought this for our trip and she's going to surprise me with a few of these items. I got on just thinking about the fun we're going to have this weekend. When I returned from my workout I found Holly's suitcases sitting by the door. I took my shower, packed my one and only suitcase and loaded the car. At 11:25 a.m. I was parked outside Holly's office waiting on her. Our plane was on time, and by 4 p.m. we were laying on the beach in Cancun with a cold adult beverage in my right hand. We decided to eat dinner in one of the hotel's restaurants. After dinner we went out dancing until around 2 a.m. I could hardly wait to get back and check out and enjoy removing Holly's new underwear. She went into the bathroom and I striped down. I lay in bed to see my wife in her new underwear. Imagine my shock when she came out wearing a large white tee with 2 pink flamingos on the front and white full-back underwear. What in the world is going on here? This wasn't sexy. She must have sensed something was wrong from the look on my face. Bubba, are you all right? You're not getting sick on our vacation, are you?
No.
I was expecting to see you in one of the sexy nightgowns you were given at your bridal shower, not in a pink flamingo shirt. Why wear something else? If I know you, I'll be naked within 30 seconds. That's so true. Enough talk, get in the bed so I can show you how much I love you. She turned off the lights and got in bed. After we made love, we went to sleep holding each other. When I woke up, we were still wrapped in each other's arms. Sitting on the balcony drinking my coffee, I started thinking about the package Holly received and why I'd never seen her wear anything like the items listed on the packing slip. About that time, Holly came out to join me, and I forgot about the box from Trashy Lingerie. After breakfast, we decided to go snorkeling along the reef and scheduled a trip at the local tour desk. It was great. I highly recommend anytime you're in Cancun, you need to spend an afternoon snorkeling along the reef. We showered, had a quick dinner, and headed off to enjoy the nightlife. I don't remember how many different bars we visited or how many different beers I drank, but we had a great time. Once again, Holly wore her flamingo shirt to bed. I removed it and we made love. Afterwards, I lay there thinking about how much I love Holly and how lucky I am to have her as my wife. The next day was pretty much a repeat of yesterday with the exception of spending the day shopping in the market instead of snorkeling. I bought Holly a necklace she liked and a chess set for me. Tonight is our wedding anniversary and our last night in Cancun. We wanted to have a nice quiet dinner and enjoy our time together. After dinner, we walked along the beach holding hands and talking about our future. We both love children and we agreed Holly would stop taking her birth control pills in January. As we walked back to the hotel, Holly talked about how she had something special for me when we got back to our room. The packing list flashed before my eyes. When we got back to the room, Holly picked up her carry-on bag and went to the bathroom. I dug out the anniversary gift I'd bought her. Holly came out of the bathroom with a huge smile on her face and dressed in the same clothes she'd worn to dinner. With great flourish, Holly handed me an envelope, gave me a kiss and said, "Happy anniversary. I love you. You've made me the happiest woman on the face of the earth. Now hurry up and open it. I can't wait to see your face when you see what's inside the envelope." I've never seen Holly this excited giving me a gift before and decided to play with her. "Holly, I love you. My love for you grows each and every day," as I handed her my gift. "First, I want you to open yours, then I'll open mine." "No way. It's been all I could do to keep this a secret. I can't wait another minute to see your face. Now go ahead and open it before I tell you what's in there." "Are you sure?" "Yes, I am. I'm so excited I'm about to pee in my pants. Please open it." I've known Holly for 4 years and I've never seen her like this, so I slowly opened the envelope, read the card and looked at Holly. Holly screamed, jumped into my arms, gave me a kiss and said, "I knew you'd love it and the look on your face is priceless." The note inside the card informed me that we had 2 tickets to the NASCAR night race at Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee. For those of you that don't know, getting tickets to the night race at Bristol is almost impossible. Thank you. Thank you. How in the world did you get the tickets? We had a contest at work and I won tickets to the Busch and Cup races. This is one contest I'm glad you won. Thank you. Go ahead and open your gift. Needless to say, my gift, pearl earrings, wasn't in the same ballpark as her gift to me, but she seemed to like them. I took Holly in my arms and gave her a kiss, telling her how much I loved her. We continued kissing, and I slowly removed her clothes. For the first time, we made love somewhere other than a bed. We were up early so we could enjoy the beach for a couple of hours before checkout. By 1 p.m., we were at the airport waiting on our flight home. Holly went asleep almost as soon as the plane took off. I sat there thinking about the brown box, the packing slip, how she got the tickets. I've never heard her talk about any company contest in the 4 years I've known her, how we made it on the couch with the lights on. When Holly and I make it is usually pretty vanilla. We seem to follow the same script each time. First, we make out for a few minutes. If my hand gets too close to her back, she'll pull it away and remind me that she does not like me playing with it. Holly seems to love you know what. She never turns me down, but never wants to try anything different. My gut tells me something is going on, and I need to find out what. Why would Holly order from trashy lingerie? Why was her maiden name on the packing slip? What did Holly do with the clothes? All these questions, and I don't have a clue how to find out. I thought I was doing a good job of acting normal when we got home until Holly asked, "Bubba, you're very quiet. Are you feeling all right?" "Yes, I'm fine. I'm just thinking about what I need to do at work tomorrow besides scheduling 3 days vacation time for our Bristol trip." The guys noticed something was going on with me the next morning playing basketball. During one of our breaks, Nick said, "Okay, Bubba, what's going on with you? You just got back from celebrating your anniversary in Cancun and should be on top of the world, but you seem to be down in the dumps, so man, what gives?" "Nothing's wrong. I guess I got used to sleeping later while on vacation," I answered. "No way. You're in better shape than all of us put together. This isn't the first time you've been on vacation. Something is going on. You're stressed out, and as a friend, I'd like to know what's got you dragging ass this morning." For the next 5 minutes, those 9 guys stayed on my case until I told them about the box from trashy lingerie. We spent the rest of our time trying to find ways to discover what Holly was doing. Everyone agreed to look around and see if they had anything I could use. The next morning, instead of our normal workouts, we spent our time discussing the items they brought and how to use them. Lying on the table were 1, 2 phone line recorders. Each would record up to 3 hours, 2, 3 camcorders, 3, a baby monitor system, 4, nanny cam system with 2 cameras, VHS tape case and notebook, 5, a micro cassette tape recorder, records up to 3 hours, 6, a standard cassette tape recorder, records up to 4 hours, 7, a digital recorder with internal card, records up to 3 hours. We agreed I should install one of the phone line recorders to our home phone and place the digital recorder in Holly's car. No one could come up with a use for the baby monitor. The 2 cassette recorders would make noise turning on and off, not to mention the limited amount of recording time available. Trey agreed to come over to my house and help me install the nanny cam system. Since I had 2 phone line recorders, I would switch them each morning before I went to the Y and listen to the tape during the day. The digital recorder in Holly's car had an internal card, so I had to take the recorder out of Holly's car and listen to it before I replaced it. At this point, I'd be able to hear Holly's home phone conversations, hear any conversation she had in her car, see what happened in our den and down the hall to our bedroom. I wouldn't be able to hear her cell phone conversations unless she was in her car, hear her at work, or hear her anywhere else. The big problem was how to verify where she went each day and who she was with when she wasn't with me. Holly's schedule, as I knew it, was she left our house each morning at 7:50 a.m. for work. She left work each day at 4:30 p.m. and went to the Y for her workout before heading home. Sometimes she'd visit and have dinner with my parents on some of my school nights. We all left for work and agreed to think about how to track Holly during the day. The only person in our basketball group Holly knew was RJ, so he couldn't be used as part of the tracking group. During our morning meeting, Jason said, "I talked with my wife last night about our tracking problem, and she suggested we use my grandfather. He's always complaining about never having anything to do, and it's driving him crazy. I talked to him last night, and he's all for helping us out. He suggested I get his brother Bob to help out as well." Between the two of them, one could drive, and the other could record everything with the camcorder. So what do you guys think? Everyone agreed Jason's wife had a great idea, and before I knew it, the rest were going to ask their grandparents to help us out. Friday morning when I arrived at the Y, I found my 9 basketball buddies, plus 11 additional people waiting on me. After introductions, we set about developing a plan/schedule to monitor Holly. The group was divided into 5 teams. Each day a different team would follow Holly to work. Another team would follow her to lunch. A third team would follow her to the Y, and another team would follow her home. They worked out a plan on how to pass the camcorders to another team when their shift was over. The group would spend the weekend riding by my house, the Y, my parents' house, and Holly's office, so they would know where Holly was expected to be each day. Monitoring Holly would start Monday morning. Each morning we met at the Y. They would recap the previous day and give me a tape from each camcorder. At our Wednesday morning meeting, John introduced us to his buddy Fred. Fred retired 2 years ago from a security firm, and he wanted to help. On Thursday, RJ spoke up. We appear to have everywhere covered except when Holly is working. Does anyone have any ideas on how to monitor her at work? RJ, I've given this a lot thought. I've checked out several online surveillance companies and found several 8-hour digital recorders with AC adapters and extended microphones. But the problem I have with them, other than the cost, is 1. How do we install them in Holly's office? 2. How do we download the recordings to my computer? And 3. I'm not comfortable with any of us being arrested for breaking and entering. The nanny cam in my house, the recording of telephone conversations in my house, recording Holly in her car, and videotaping Holly in public places are all activities conducted in public, or they're recorded in or on my personal property. I will not take part in planting a bug in Holly's office. If she's cheating on me, she will not be doing it at work with 45 other people. Sorry, Bubba, don't get pissed with me. I'm just trying to cover all the bases. Friday morning, Sam and Nick's grandparents informed us they joined the Y. While following Holly, they discovered several people their age using the facilities and decided to join for their health and to watch Holly while she was there. I was completely blown away by all the effort this group was doing for me. They seemed to enjoy having something to do each day. Our group of 11 had grown to 15 by our second week. There were teams in cars following Holly, there were teams sitting in the lobby of Holly's building, and there were teams eating at the same restaurant Holly ate lunch at each day. Holly never saw the same people twice on any one day. These senior citizens were executing the plan to perfection. After 2 weeks, I told the group, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for everything you've done. For the past 2 weeks, Holly has done everything a faithful wife should be doing. I've watched the tapes from my house, the tapes from the camcorders, listened to her phone conversations in our house as well as her car, and she has done absolutely nothing inappropriate that I can see. She goes to work, she goes shopping with her friends, she visits my parents, she works out at the Y, she goes to the grocery store, and she's never been seen with anyone other than her friends, co-workers, and my parents. So let's give this one more week and then call the search off. The next Friday morning, we met as an active group for the last time. Thank you for your time and effort for the past 3 weeks. I can't tell you how much it means to me knowing you proved my wife is faithful to me and our marriage. It's time to turn off the cameras and recorders and move on with life. I wish the best for you and your families in the future. Henry cleared his throat and said, Well, Bubba, we'd like to thank you for giving us something worthwhile to do. We've become friends through this investigation and plan on staying friends. You should know we've visited several attorneys around town offering our services, and I'm proud to say we have a job starting Wednesday. Goodbye to sitting in a boring rocking chair. Look out, world, here we come again. I wished everyone a happy and safe weekend as I left with the camcorders. When I told them I'd return their equipment, they told me to keep it or give it away. They were happy to have it out of their homes. RJ was getting in his car when I walked up to his window. RJ, I'm going by the house to disconnect everything before I go to the office. How about tell Harry I have a personal matter to take care of before I get to the office for our meeting? Don't worry, I'll tell him before I get my first cup of coffee. Do you want me to stop by and help?
No.
Thank you for asking. It won't take long. No sense in both us being late. Call me crazy, but I couldn't give up. I still had too many unanswered questions, and I couldn't ask this group to continue without an end in sight. They had already given me 3 weeks of their time, and it was time to try something else. I stopped by my house, and the first thing I did after changing clothes was relocate the phone line recorder. Next, I found a book about the same size as the VCR nanny cam. I removed the book jacket, cut a hole for the camera lens, wrapped the jacket around the VCR nanny cam, and returned the book jacket with the nanny cam back in the same place the book has been for the 2 years. It took a while to figure out what to do with the notebook cam, but I finally decided to move it to the garage. This way I'd see if Holly brought home another brown box. Finally, I placed the digital recorder from Holly's car under the couch where Holly usually sat. With everything relocated, including the nanny cam computer, and rewired, I headed for the shower. As I was walking toward the bathroom, I had an idea and ran down to my basement office, returning with the baby monitor. The way this old monitoring system worked was through normal household wiring. You plugged the transmitter into a wall jack, then you plugged the receiver in another wall jack. I removed the digital recorder and placed the transmitter under the couch and plugged it in. In the basement, I plugged in the receiver and placed the old voice-activated cassette recorder beside the receiver. Using the baby monitoring system, I'd be able to put the digital recorder back in Holly's car. After taking one last look at my handiwork, making sure everything looked normal, I took a shower, locked the door, and went to my meeting with Harry. Holly and I met my parents at our favorite Greek restaurant for dinner, and we spent the entire meal talking about our upcoming trip to Bristol. Dad asked, "Do y'all know where your seats are?" "Not yet. They should be good seats," replied Holly. "Why would you say that?" "Mr. Johnson, our CEO, put up 2 of his personal tickets. As I understand it, he gets 6 tickets to each race. So if they're good enough for him, they should be great for us." "Well, y'all better be on your best behavior if you're sitting with him." At this point, I made a mental note to mark race tickets off my list of unknown issues. If the source of the tickets is Mr. Johnson, then everything about the contest is on the level. With a full stomach, we headed off to see a chick flick. Don't even ask, I don't have a clue what we watched. I couldn't believe how horny Holly was when we got home. As soon as I turned from locking the door, Holly grabbed my arm and led me to our bedroom. Mark this day down as another first. With the lights on, Holly dropped to knees. Holly's good mood spilled over into Saturday morning. Walking into the kitchen after my morning shower, I was shocked to see Holly already up and cooking breakfast. This was the first time in our 3-year marriage that Holly was up on a Saturday morning before 10 a.m. and had cooked me breakfast. "What in the world have you done with my wife?" Laughing, she said, "Oh honey, I'm so happy I couldn't sleep." "I'm happy too, but apparently I'm not as happy as you are. So just what has happened to make you this happy?" "We've been to SOS, had an incredible trip to Cancun, going to Bristol for the race, and planning on starting our family. I've so much to be thankful for, and I can't begin to tell you how much I love you." "Well, let's forget breakfast and go back to bed and share our love." "I love you, but we don't have time. In case you've forgotten, I'm going with Debbie, RJ's wife, this morning to help her find a dress for her cousin's wedding next weekend." "So you're up this morning because you're going with Debbie?" "That's not true. Debbie won't be here until 11 o'clock. I'm up early this morning because I want to be with you." "Then let's go back to bed so I can show you how much I love you." "I know you love me, and I'll show you tonight how much I love you. Now sit down and eat your breakfast. You keep on talking, and this will be the last time you see me cook." As I sat down, I even managed to say, "Yes, dear," with a straight face. Breakfast was a great surprise, and I really enjoyed our time together. While Holly cleaned the kitchen, I went outside to cut the grass and wash the cars. Debbie arrived just as I finished washing the cars. She walked in with me to see if Holly was ready. One thing I can say about Holly is never late. Debbie asked, "Well, Bubba, what are you going to do while Holly is out spending your money?" "What are you talking about?" "It's my understanding y'all are going shopping for you a dress, which means you're out spending RJ's money. If Holly buys anything, it better be a new faucet for the kitchen." "Bubba, they don't sell faucets in dress shops where we shop. Before you clean up and start studying, I think it would be great for you to get the new kitchen faucet. You were with me when I showed you the faucet I wanted." "Great, while I'm out, I'll swing by and pick me up a barbecue sandwich." "I love you." Once back at home with my barbecue sandwich and a new kitchen faucet, I sat down, ate my sandwich, and started making a to-do list. Starting with the faucet while I was in dirty work clothes seemed like the best place to start. After reading the instructions on the faucet box, getting my toolbox, I cleaned everything out from under the sink so I could install the new faucet. When I went to remove the old faucet, I discovered I didn't have a wrench that would work. Now I have 2 options. 1, go back to the store and buy 1, or 2, borrow Dad's. Why should I go buy one when I can use Dad's? I knew if I went to Dad's today, I'd never be able to get back here and finish today. Mom would manage to keep me there for over an hour. I had a class project due, so I decided I'd get the wrench when I had more time. Taking a shower and putting on clean clothes always refreshes me. Off to my basement office to work on my MBA project. It didn't take long for me to be completely caught up in my project, and I didn't think about anything else until I heard Holly and Debbie through the baby monitor. 2 minutes later, Holly opened the basement door and called out my name. Walking out of my office, I responded, "I'm down here. Y'all back already?" "Bubba, it's 7 o'clock. Have you been asleep?"
No.
"I've been working on my project. I guess time does go faster when you enjoy what you're doing. I'll be up in a couple of minutes." A couple of minutes later, I joined the ladies in the kitchen. Looking at Debbie, I asked, "Well, are you going to show me the dress you bought?" "Yes, it's in the den." We followed Debbie into the den where she proudly showed me the dress. "Well, Debbie, it looks great to me, and I'm sure everyone at the wedding will think so as well." "Why, thank you, kind sir. It'll look better tomorrow after Holly, and I find a pair of shoes to wear with it. I can't believe how long you women spend shopping. But hey, it's your time and RJ's money." "Holly, does this mean you'll fix breakfast in the morning?" "Yes, I'll fix us breakfast and spend the morning with you." "Man, I can get used to this. Have I told you lately that I love you?" "Thank you, and I love you too." Later in bed, Holly did remember to show me how much she loved me. I'd like to say we did something new and different, but we didn't. Sunday afternoon, I was back in my basement office. After about 3 hours, I needed a break. Standing up to stretch, I saw the baby monitor and decided now was a good time to change phone recorders. Check the cassette recorder and offload video from the nanny cam. I listened to the phone recorder and didn't learn anything other than it worked. Next, I listened to the cassette recording from the baby monitor and once again didn't hear anything useful other than it too worked. As I was about to watch video from the nanny cameras, I heard Holly and Debbie upstairs. I waited on Holly to open the basement door and call for me to come up and see Debbie's new shoes. Just what every man wants to do is see another pair of shoes. Being the kind and understanding husband I went upstairs to look at the shoes. I told them they did a great job, only took 4 hours, in finding just the right pair of shoes for the dress. They both smiled and said, "Thank you." Monday morning, I was back at the Y playing basketball with the guys. It felt good to be back on my normal schedule. Tuesday, I got an email from my professor telling me we wouldn't have class due to a family emergency he had to deal with. My afternoon sales call was cut short because John had to attend a meeting with his dad, the company owner. At this point, I said the hell with it and decided to go home early. This was the first time in a year I'd taken off early with the added bonus that I didn't have to attend class. What in the world am I going to do with my time? A light bulb went off in my head when I entered the kitchen. I'd replace the kitchen faucet and surprise Holly. I changed clothes and climbed on my motorcycle and headed off to get Dad's wrench. I parked my motorcycle beside Dad's workshop and went looking for the wrench. During my search, I discovered a box full of old pictures. Placing the box on the workbench, I started going through them. The box was full of family pictures going back at least 30 years. I started pulling out pictures I wanted to make copies of so I could someday show my children. A flash of light coming through the window caught my attention, and I looked out the window just in time to see Holly and my mother dressed in white nurse uniforms walking out the basement door. They were looking off to the right toward RJ's parents' house. If my wife and mother surprised me, then watching RJ, Debbie, and my boss, Harry, walk through the gate gave me the biggest shock of my life. Debbie was naked except for a pair of high heels and a collar around her neck attached to a leash as she was being led by RJ. Harry walked into my wife's outstretched arms and gave her a big kiss while RJ kissed my mother. When Holly kissed Harry, she rubbed his. This move was copied by my mother while she kissed RJ. As Holly passed Debbie, she slapped her face before she kissed RJ. I stood frozen in place thinking this was not a simple case of an affair. Holly, Debbie, and my mother were first-class W. It took a few minutes for my mind to clear before I could start thinking about what I was going to do now that I knew the truth about Holly. In a daze, I walked from the workshop up to the basement window and looked in, not sure what to expect. Debbie was curled up on a towel beside the couch. Mom and Holly were RJ and Harry's. I discovered the lights were on. RJ and Harry switched places. I wondered if my dad knew about this. I pulled out my cell phone to call him when it occurred to me that my cell phone was a camera phone. So I took pictures of my wife. As I keyed in Dad's phone number, I got another surprise. Dad and three couples. The women were dressed in white nurse uniforms, walked into the basement from upstairs. No need to call him, he already knows. He was saying something when he walked in, and if I read his lips correctly, he said, "Sorry I'm late," then stuck his. I took a couple pictures and returned to the workshop. While everyone was working on following Holly, I was busy executing my own plan. With my gut screaming that something was going on, I decided I'd better do some research of my own. First, I checked all the websites I could find about divorce law in South Carolina. Next, I visited the top 5 divorce attorneys in Columbia seeking their advice. Did you know if you meet with an attorney and pay for his time, even if you don't hire them for your case, your spouse cannot use them? In the state of South Carolina, grounds for divorce are 1. Adultery, 2. Desertion, 3. Physical cruelty, 4. Addiction to D or alcohol, and 5. Living separate and apart without cohabitation for at least 1 year, no fault. Unless the plaintiff is seeking a divorce based upon living separate and apart without cohabitation for 1 year, there is a 3-month waiting period from the filing of the petition before the court will grant a judgment of dissolution of marriage. Bottom line, I have 2 options. I can obtain a no-fault divorce merely by not living with her for 1 year or file for divorce on grounds of adultery. One important fact, all 5 of the attorneys told me, was if my grounds were adultery, I would have to have a witness testify they saw her commit adultery. My testimony and camera phone pictures were not enough to win a judgment on grounds of adultery. You're probably thinking, why in the world don't I walk in there and kick some ass? Don't worry, I'll not leave without a confrontation. But first, it's time for me to follow my plan. I retrieved a list of phone numbers from my wallet and started making phone calls. The attorneys advised me to open new bank accounts in my name only in case needed to transfer some money. So my first call was to my bank's automated teller system, where I transferred most of our money into my accounts. Next, I called the credit card companies and lowered our credit limit to $50 above their current balance due. It doesn't matter how much you transfer, the division of assets is based on their value at the time of separation, and today is our day of separation. My last phone call was to a security firm that was highly recommended by the attorneys. I'd already interviewed them, agreed on the terms, and they were just waiting on my call. When I called, Lonnie was the supervisor on duty. I told him my situation and requested 3 agents join me at my parents' house. They were to come through the neighbor's backyard and bring a camera and a camcorder with them. Turning my cell phone ringer off and setting it to vibrate as I moved back to the window to wait on backup. I thought, what a dumbass. I should have thought to turn the ringer off earlier. I looked in the window just in time to watch my wife turn her back to Harry. RJ stepped up. Yes, I even got a picture of them. Another thing I noticed was the group had grown larger since I went to make my phone calls. The good news is my wife is not having an affair. The bad news is she is a member of AF Swing Club. This was enough for me. I went back to the workshop. While I waited, I found a galvanized pipe I'd take in with me. With any luck, I'll get to use the pipe to defend myself. Jim, Derek, and Connie arrived about 30 minutes after my call. Once introductions were out of the way, I had Jim turn on the camcorder as I called Lonnie at the security firm. When Lonnie was on the phone, I said, "You should know Jim is recording our conversation and I have you on speaker. After we hang up, I want you to call me on my cell phone and leave a message. I'm going to replay your message so we can establish today's date and time, so there will not be any doubt as to today's date." He agreed, and 2 minutes later we replayed his message. After establishing date and time, we made our way to the basement window. Connie's job was to take close-up pictures of everyone in the room. Her pictures were so identification would not be a problem later on. Jim started videoing the action inside for a few minutes before Jim, Derek, and I headed inside. Jim's role was to continue with the video and Derek was to be my bodyguard. I'm 6 feet 4 inches, 227 pounds, and Derek makes me look small. It took the group about 3 minutes to notice we were standing there watching them. Holly was the first to speak, saying, "What every cheating says when they get caught. Oh my God, Bubba, you were never to find out about this. I'm so sorry. Sorry for the interruption, folks. I'll only stay for a few minutes, then you can get back to your F-Fest." These people were frozen in place. I don't know if it's the shock of seeing me, the security guards, or both. "Holly, don't bring your cheating ass back to my house. Your stuff will be in the driveway tomorrow between the hours of 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. At 9:01 p.m., what you don't take will be stored in the garage until I take it to the city dump on Thursday. From this moment on, you're not welcome in my house. Don't try to get in. I'm changing the locks tonight when I get home. Bubba, please let me come home so I can explain. What is there to explain? Let me see you love me, right? Yes, I do love you. You stupid see, you don't have the slightest idea what love is. Maybe you think you love me, but I don't ever want your kind of love. Please don't say that. Shut up, you and listen. I don't care what you have to say. Nothing you say will change the fact you're sitting there. No, I don't care for your kind of love. And if you were on fire, I wouldn't piss on you to put the fire out. My dad got brave and said, Bubba, you need time to cool off. Why don't we stop by your house tomorrow and talk about this? I don't need time to cool off. You and your W are not welcome in my home either. You can't talk to me or your mother like that. I'm your father and I won't allow it in my home. You don't deserve my respect, and I'll talk to you any way I see fit. Not to worry, I'll never set foot in this house again. Now sit down before I beat the S out of you. George, I'll never respect you or Barbara enough to call you mom and dad again. I don't care if you are what you are. If you're both happy with being, then more power to you. But you ceased being my parents the moment you F my wife. How in the hell can you look at yourself in the mirror? How could you F my wife and still look me in the eyes? No, as far as I'm concerned, you both died today. Taking a moment to look around the room, I discovered there were no protection in sight. The women were looking down at the floor, and the only person crying was Debbie. I'm not sure if she was crying for me. Holly, look at me, B. I must say you've really F'd me over by F my boss, Harry, my best friend, RJ, your boss, Steve, your boss's boss, Mr. Johnson, my father. If I'm not mistaken, I see your old boyfriend, David, back there. I'll review the video later and identify everyone so my attorney will know who to name in my petition for divorce on grounds of adultery. Jim and Derek are my independent witnesses to your adultery. At this point, everyone seemed to get their voice back. I won't bore you with their threats and pleas. Folks, I want you to listen to me very carefully now. I never want to see any of you ever again. If you should find yourself walking toward me, I strongly advise you to turn and go as far away from me as possible. Take this warning seriously. I'll beat the S out of you if you get within my reach. This goes for you too, George. I'm no longer your son. I'll be your worst nightmare if you ever approach me. Now I want each one of you to look at me and tell me you understand what I just said. You'll be on tape stating I've warned you and you understand. Mr. Johnson, we'll start with you. Now you listen here, young man. I'll destroy you in this town if you mess with me. Shut up. It seems to me I've every right to talk to you any way I want to. What gives you the right to F my wife? Consider this your one and only get out of jail free card. Because if you want your ass kicked, just bring it on. You've been warned. I have you on tape, F my soon-to-be ex-wife. I have witnesses, not to mention you're on video. Now do you understand my warning? Bubba, you'll hear from my attorney in the morning, you dumb ass. Mr. Johnson, have you been through a divorce before? Yes, I have. Good. Does the name Ben Simmons or Brian Anderson mean anything to you? Yes, they are divorce attorneys. Are they any good? Yes, they were my ex-wife's attorneys. I'm still paying my ex-wife because of them. Great, they happen to be my attorneys. I'm sure they'll enjoy watching you on video F my wife, threatening to ruin me, and getting your ass on the witness stand where you will be named as an adulterer. Once again, do you understand my warning? Yes, I understand your warning. That wasn't hard, was it, Mr. Johnson? Now it's your turn, RJ. Yes, I understand. Not so fast. RJ, you need to know I'm very serious about you not approaching me. I thought you were my best friend, someone I could always count on to have my back. F my wife was more important to you than our friendship. You didn't stop when you found out I suspected Holly of having an affair. No, you kept everyone informed about the status of our surveillance. Hear me and hear me good. If you ever get within my reach, I'll beat you so bad they'll have to take you to the hospital. You've been warned, so if you forget, and I beat the S out of you, don't go charging me with assault. This also goes for the rest of you. RJ, do you understand what I just said? Yes, I understand, and I'm sorry. Bull S, you're not sorry, you're a sorry piece of S. I then turned my attention to Jason, asking, Jason, is your wife here with you today? Yes, she's the redhead sitting next to your mother. Never refer to Barbara as my mother ever again. My mother is dead. So it was your idea for Jason's grandfather to follow Holly? I asked.
No.
We as a group came up with the idea. This was the best way we could think of for us to control the investigation. I'm sorry we didn't mean to hurt you. Lie. I know all of you are sorry a holes. You're sorry you got caught. If you really felt sorry for me, you'd never have F my wife, not to mention that y'all continue to F her after I suspected she was having an affair. Y'all looked for ways to control the investigation and convince me that Holly was a faithful wife. But y'all never planned to stop F her. Pausing a moment to catch my breath and control my anger. So it was the group's idea and not yours? Yes, that's correct. Were the grandparents aware they were being used? Do they know Holly is a fucking W? Oh no. None of them were aware they were, as you put it, being used. We were all surprised at how many wanted to help. Jason, do you understand what I'll do if you get where I can reach you? Yes, Bubba, I understand. Harry, I'm taking tomorrow off as a personal day to get the W stuff out of my house. On Thursday, after I get back from the dump, I'll stop by the office and give Bob my letter of resignation. I strongly advise you not be in the office Thursday. I don't see your wife here, so I'll assume she doesn't know about this fest. Have no fear, she will know before the end of the week. Harry, do you understand and believe everything I've said? Yes, I understand. Please don't tell my wife. I can't believe what a stupid group of a-holes y'all are. From now on, I suggest you only accept couples into your group that agree to share their partners. Holly knew I'd never agree to this lifestyle, and she should have been honest with me before we got married. At this point, Holly spoke up. Bubba, I couldn't tell you. You wouldn't have married me. You got that right. I'd told you to go to hell in a heartbeat. You knew this, and you continued to F behind my back. I've wasted 4 years of my life loving a cheating W, but I'll not waste another minute of my time giving AS about you. Now keep your mouth shut, and don't interrupt me again. Harry, your wife deserves to know she is married to a lying, cheating a-hole, and I promise you she'll know before the end of this week. Anything she needs for me to help her, I'll gladly provide her, and any other spouse wanting my help. Okay, let's continue. About halfway through this process, a man I didn't know started cussing me. He was about my size, so I guess he thought he'd whip my ass. So as he came toward me, I stood my ground, ducked his wild left hook, hit him with the pipe. He fell to the floor holding his. As one of the women ran to his aid, she looks at me saying, I thought that big guy was here to stop a fight. You're correct, he's here to stop me from going after you. If you attack me, they are to stand and watch me beat your ass. I'd like to thank this dumbass for allowing me to show you what will happen if you ever get close to me in the future. Let me remind you, I'll not track you down and physically hurt you, but if you get within my reach, I promise I'll hurt you. Now I hope everyone understands I'll do what I say I'll do. It took a few more minutes, but I finally got everyone on tape stating they understood my warning. Okay, before I go, I want to remind you not to ever contact me. I don't want to hear from any of you. Holly, you are only allowed on the driveway. Don't walk around the house, don't knock on the door, don't stand in the driveway, and don't call out me name. You have 2 hours to load you stuff and leave. I turned to walk out the door when I spotted a video recorder mounted on a tripod. I removed the camera and turned once again to the group and said, Great, I'll take this with me. This should be very interesting to watch and listen to. Don't worry, I'll return the camera after I make a copy for my attorney. Jim and Derek stood outside the door while I got on my motorcycle and rode home. Jim, Derek, and Connie were to wait outside another 30 minutes before they came to my house with the evidence. At home, I changed the locks I'd already bought and the message on the answering machine before grabbing a beer and waited on Jim, Derek, and Connie. Derek told me Holly and her F-buddies were quietly getting dressed and leaving within minutes of my exit. It seemed no one wanted to talk. All they wanted to do was to get the hell out of there as soon as possible. Jim handed me the memory cards. I thanked them, and they left wishing me luck. A lot's happened in the past 6 weeks, so grab another beer, and I'll do my best to bring you up to date. Review of the nanny cam video showed Holly slowly enter, and look where the nanny cams had been. When she didn't see them, she actually went through the entire cabinet, as well as checking behind the cabinet looking for the cables. The nanny cam in the garage showed Holly looking under her car seat. You could see a smile on her face, knowing for a fact the digital recorder wasn't in her car. Mr. Johnson's attorney did call my attorney, Brian Anderson, the next day. Seems Mr. Johnson wanted to make a deal to keep his name out of the papers. It also turns out that Mr. Johnson wasn't the only one wanting to keep their names out of the paper. When Brian Anderson called wanting to know what I wanted to do, I responded, "Tell them to make me their best offer by tomorrow, and I'll let them know. The offer has to be in writing. I will not accept anything verbal." Holly followed my instructions and spent a little over an hour loading her stuff into a truck. When I went outside at 9:01 p.m., everything was gone. Thursday morning, I met with Bob and gave him my letter of resignation. When he asked why I was leaving without working out a 2-week notice, my response shocked him when I said, "Because I caught Harry and RJF my wife Tuesday." I paused and handed him a couple pictures to prove it. Friday, Harry and RJ were fired. On Thursday, Holly's dad left a message on my voicemail wanting to know what in the hell was going on. His message pissed me off, so I emailed him some great pictures of his daughter. He hasn't called back. Karen, my sister, called me Thursday night wanting to know what was going on. I asked, "Do you know your parents are SW?" She paused, then softly she said, "Yes." "Did you know they were F Holly?" A longer pause this time before I heard, "Oh my God, you found out? So you knew and didn't tell me." Not only did I find out, I've got pictures. Now I'll tell you the same thing I told your parents. You just died. I paused to get control, then in a loud, clear voice I said, "Never ever try to contact me again." Slowly I hung up the phone. The next morning I called the phone company and got a new unlisted phone number. Because most of the people I caught Holly F were my friends, I made some life-changing decisions. First, I didn't do anything wrong, so I'd continue living my life with my head held high. Second, I started running on Monday and Wednesdays and do my weight training by myself. Deep down in my gut, I knew there'd be at least one dumb son of a bee wanting to talk with me. It took a little over a week before RJ thought it was safe. As I was leaving the Y, RJ got out of his car and walked toward me. I stood there with my hands in my pocket waiting on him. About the time he reached me, I took my hands out of my pocket. Then, let's just say I'm a man of my word. He only spent one night in the hospital. I met with the wives of the men wanting to buy their way out of trouble yesterday in Brian Anderson's office. I provided them with copies of all my evidence, including their cash offer. The money offer made me feel like Holly's pimp. Someone should have told me Holly was a W. I should have been told. Cheating on your spouse isn't acceptable to me, and these women needed to know what kind of men they were married to. They'd have to decide how it would affect their marriages, not me, but they deserve to know. Brian Anderson met with Holly and her attorney and played them a video for me with my settlement offer. Holly agreed to my terms. After the meeting, Brian handed me a letter from Holly, which I immediately tossed in the trash without opening. Oh, I forgot to mention my house is just that, my house. My grandfather, the football coach, left me one of his rental houses in his will. He died before I ever met Holly. Let me tell you, it is great to have a house without having to make mortgage payments. Every day until I changed phone numbers, Barbara called and left a message. Her message was always the same. "Bubba, I'm so very sorry and I'll always love you. What I don't understand is how she possible can love me. I don't know about you, but I don't think that's the kind of love a mother should have for her son. Will I ever forgive Holly? You can safely bet your last dollar that'll never happen in my lifetime. I'm a one-woman man, and I'll never share my wife with anyone." The videotape from their F-Fest wasn't any fun to watch, but I did learn a few things. Such as Holly thanking Mr. Johnson for the race tickets, and she thanked RJ and Jason for keeping her and the rest of the group informed. Next, she said, "I'm going off the pill January 1st, so Bubba and I can start our family. So the only person I'll have it with will be Bubba." Someone I didn't know asked, "Will you come to our parties?" "No. If I do that, I'll end up getting F." Good old Mr. Johnson. "Holly, what about my lunchtime, BJ? I mean, no with anyone until I'm pregnant. I'm going to make sure Bubba is the father of our children. The day after I find out I'm pregnant, we'll have a big party to make up for lost time." Speaking of lost time, enough talk. I need to get what? Holly was really serious about having my baby, but she was looking forward to F someone else as soon as she got pregnant. This is the way I'll always remember Holly AW, that's ready to F someone else.